I'm kind of glowing here too.
How do I even blur it?
Background and something settings and preferences.
Okay, Peter, I think we're good to go.
Okay, starting.
Terrific. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Committee of Adjustment meeting for this evening. This is our meeting for Thursday, February the 9th, 2023, and I'll welcome everyone. I'll call the meeting to order, and I will first start by reading the town's land acknowledgement. The town of Aurora acknowledges that the Anishinaabe lands on which we live and work are the traditional and Treaty Number 20 territories of the Chippewas of Georgina Island, and as well many other nations whose presence here continues to this day. As the closest First Nation community to Aurora, we recognize the special relationship the Chippewas have with the lands and waters of this territory. They are the water protectors and environmental stewards of these lands. And as a municipality, we join them in these responsibilities. We further acknowledge that Aurora is part of the treaty lands of the Mississaugas and the Chippewas recognized through Treaty Number 13, as well as the Williams Treaties of 1923. Our shared understanding of the rich cultural heritage that has existed for centuries and how our collective past brought us to where we are today will help us walk together into a better future. I'll look to the committee then for approval of the agenda for this evening. Daniel, yes, please go right ahead.
Through you, the chair, I move that we approve the agenda as circulated for today, which is Thursday, February 9th, 2023.
Thank you. I'll look for a seconder. Linda, thank you very much. Calling the question. All of those in favor? And that carries. Thank you. All right. And
through the chair, there's a email going around. I believe our colleague got kicked out and is requesting to be brought back in. David.
Oh, yes. Okay. Thank you. So I think while we wait for David, oh, looks like he's coming back in now.
I was kicked out. I don't know what happened.
Okay, welcome back, David. All right. And now that you're back, I'll ask members of the committee if there are any declarations of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof.
No.
And no hands up. David, you could bring your video back in. That would be great. Good to see you there.
No, I don't have.
All right. Okay. And receipt of the minutes for this evening, please. Linda? We'll need your mic on, please.
Sorry about that. Through the chair, I move that the minutes from the Committee of Adjustment meeting January 12th, 2023, number 2301 be approved.
Seconder, please. Steve, see your hand. Thank you very much. Seconded, and all in favor. Carries. And actually, before I go any further, let me begin by introducing everyone here this evening. So I should have started with this, and I apologize. My name is Tom Plamondon. I am the committee chair. The remaining members are as follows. Daniel Lajeunesse is our vice chair. Steve Dagelet, Linda Duringer and David Mango are the other members. The secretary treasurer is Peter Fan. And the planner joining us this evening is Adam Robb. The committee council coordinator is Linda Bottas, and I believe she is not with us this evening. This public meeting is being audio and video recorded. It is also being conducted virtually through the use of Zoom technology. Your name, address, comments, and any other personal information are being recorded according to the Municipal Act and the Municipal Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act. This will help our town clerk prepare accurate minutes and to create a record that is available to the general public, including on the town's website. Questions about this collection should be directed to the town clerk. Please be advised that the reports being considered tonight are available on the Town of Aurora website and through staff at the Town Planning Department. Should you wish to receive notification of any of the decisions of tonight's meeting, please complete the appropriate form available through town staff. Owners and agents will automatically be notified. For each application that will be considered tonight, the following process will occur. I will briefly outline the purpose of the applications, and then the applicant or agent will then be given the opportunity to make a presentation. However, one is not required. It is the applicant's decision whether they wish to speak or let the application proceed on the merits of the information as received. Following any initial comments from the applicant, I will invite members of the public who have an interest in the application to come forward and address the committee. Those members of the public who wish to speak must clearly state their name and address and must provide this information to the secretary treasurer. Should you wish to obtain a copy of the notice of decision, please complete the appropriate form available again through the secretary treasurer. Members of the public are reminded that text comments are not permitted during the meeting and that they will not be noted in any manner at any time. Each individual may speak only once on an issue, and once discussion has commenced in respect of a motion, no further presentations shall be made. If you require any technical information with your presentation, please let me know. If you wish to speak and are currently following this meeting on the YouTube feed, you will need to turn this feed off as there is a slight lag between the YouTube feed and the live feed. Please ensure that all questions and or comments are directed through me as the chair, and if relevant, I will request the appropriate person respond. It should be noted that the applicant will be given an opportunity to respond to any question or comments should the committee feel that it is appropriate. So we have already approved the agenda and dealt with declarations of pecuniary interest, and the minutes of the last meeting have been adopted. So that will allow us to go on to the first meeting or first item for review this evening. The first application we are dealing with is a consent application for 1623 Wellington Street Developments Limited. The file is C 2023-01. The purpose of the proposed consent application is to sever 1.15 acres of the subject property to facilitate the creation of a new lot along Wellington Street East. The new lot will have a frontage of 107.07 meters and is currently designated for employment and commercial purposes. Any future development on the subject lot will also be subject to a future site plan application if approved. Specific details of the consent are as follows, and they are outlined in Appendix B and C. A portion of Part 11 is retained, while the remaining portion of 11 is to be severed as shown on those appendices. So, planning comments. So when considering an application for consent to sever lands, regard shall be had to the criteria of section 51 brackets 24 of the Planning Act. And this includes, among other things, matters of provincial interest, conformity with the official plan and adjacent plans of subdivision, suitability of the land for the purpose in which it is to be subdivided, the dimension, shape of the proposed lots, adequacy of utilities and municipal services, and number and adequacy of highways. Based on a review of the Planning Act criteria, staff have no concerns with the land severance as proposed. Staff are satisfied that the proposed consent application is consistent with the provincial policy statement and conforms with applicable provincial plans. Staff note that the retained and severed lands meet the zoning bylaw as it relates to minimum lot area and lot frontage requirements. Staff are also of the opinion that the proposed severance is generally compatible with the surrounding area in regards to dimension and shape of the proposed lot, and will not result in any negative impacts on adjacent property or character of this area. Adequate utilities and municipal services are also available, with the site also being serviced by an established site access route. Cash in lieu of parkland is required and will be secured at the site plan agreement stage. Additional comments from other commenting agencies. Building Division, a preliminary zoning review was completed on October 31st, 2022 with no zoning non-compliance. Engineering Division, comments provided stating no comments. Operational Services, Parks, Operational Services, Public Works, Central York Fire, York Region, all indicating no comments or concerns. LSRCA, not commenting on the application. It is located outside of the area governed by OREG 179-06. Ministry of MTO, comments provided no objections to the severance, but they go on to say that please be aware that this site is within MTO permit control area and is subject to MTO review. Approval and applicable permits. So MTO owns a portion of Wellington Road north of this property, and no essential feature imperative to the operation of the site is permitted to be built within 14 meters of MTO property. Traffic volumes would also be subject to MTO review to ensure no negative impacts to the interchange. And electric utilities have indicated no objection to the approval, subject to their standard conditions, which members of the committee and the public are very much aware of. There were no public correspondences received at the time of the writing of the staff report. I do not believe we have seen any since. And staff have no objection to the approval of the consent application, subject to the conditions outlined in Appendix A. And those conditions of approval in Appendix A are attached to the staff report. I believe that there are a total of 4 conditions. So with that, I'll look to the applicant for comments or presentation. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. I'd like to request the presentation materials we submitted be presented on screen. Perfect. Thank you very much.
For the record, Mr. Zhang, can I get your full name and address, please?
My full name is Daniel Wei Kang Zhang, and I'm acting on behalf of 1623 Wellington Streets Developments Limited. The address for this company is 3200 Highway 7.
Thank you very much. Please go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The property being discussed here today is municipally known as 1623 Wellington Street East and is located at the south of Wellington and east off the 404 ramp. If you could go to the next slide, please. We are seeking to consent to sever 2.85 acres of vacant land from the existing 5.85 acre parcel for the purposes of a land sale. The site will be accessible from our private roads A and C. We've reviewed all comments from all staff and have no objections. We request that our consent application be approved. Thank you for your time, and I would be happy to answer any additional questions.
Thank you very much. And I do not believe that there is anyone here from the public who wishes to address the members of the committee or the applicant. So with that, I'll look to the committee for any comments or questions on the application. Yes, David, see your hand up there. Please go right ahead.
So for me, it's just a comment. Knowing that the access, utilities, municipal services will be available, and there's no objection from M2O, and some of the issues like the cash in lieu for parkland, dedication, or the some matters regarding M2O, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Anyone else with any comments or questions to the applicant or comments on the application itself? Linda, you're good. Daniel, you're good. Steve, you're good. Terrific. Yeah, I just note that this area of the town is actually becoming very busy with the opening of the Farm Boy, I guess, quite recently, and with the existing commercial operations around that area opening up. Has there been, to the applicant, Daniel, has there been a full look at the overall site potential from a traffic volume perspective? And have any of those, if so, have the MTO had a chance to go over any of the implications on that?
So I'm going to answer that in two parts, Mr. Chair. As for your first question regarding traffic volume management, I believe as part of site plan application for each site plan we submit through for a commercial development, as required by town planning staff, we may complete and we have completed traffic planning studies to manage the volume and flow of traffic, and as such have been reviewed or will be reviewed by the town upon acceptance. As for the second question, the area sits outside of the MTO permit control area in part, and as such is not subject to their direct application review or submission. Does that satisfy your question, Mr. Chair?
Sure. Yeah, it does. I noticed that in their comments, they make reference to being landowners, obviously, and express their, their standard comment back to staff relative to that. So, yeah, that's terrific. I noticed the other day when I was on site there, the traffic internal, particularly on the, I'll call it the Farm Boy side, has really built up significantly over the last 4 or 5 months, and so it seems to be working very well. So no major concerns there.
We've noticed Farm Boy does tend to have that immediate effect on its surroundings.
Sure it does. All right, that certainly answers my questions. So with that, I'll look to the committee then for a motion on the consent. Steve, go right ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, with respect to consent application C-2023-01, I move that we approve the application subject to the conditions outlined in Schedule A of the staff report.
Thank you very much. I'll look to a seconder on the motion. Linda, see your hand up there. I'll call a question. All in favor of the consent? Thank you very much. That carries. Thank you very much, Mr. Zhang, for being with us and providing that presentation. And I'll wish you a good evening.
You as well, Mr. Chair, and thank you again to the members of the committee. Have a great evening.
Thank you. All right, moving forward to the next item on the agenda. The next item is a minor variance application. I hope I have this pronunciation correct. It is for Sechai or Sechai at 480 Stone Road. This is file MV 2023-02. The applicant is requesting relief from the requirements of the town's comprehensive zoning bylaw 6000-17 as amended to facilitate a sunroom addition to an existing single-story detached dwelling. The proposed addition has a height of 2.7 meters and a gross floor area of 16.7 square meters. The sunroom addition is located at the rear portion of the property, but as a corner lot, it is subject to exterior lot line variance. The following relief is being requested. A, Section 24.142.1.2 of the zoning bylaw requires a minimum exterior side yard setback of 4.5 meters for the main building. The applicant is proposing an addition that is 3.02 meters from the exterior side lot line, thereby requiring a variance of 1.48 meters. Okay. In this case, the applicant's stated reasons for not complying with the zoning bylaw are as follows. As stated on the application form, in quotes, I wasn't aware of the zoning regulation for this addition. Unfortunately, I started this construction without having enough information until I was advised by the town of Aurora. If I had known, I would have complied with all of the zoning provisions. Planning comments are as follows. With regards to the variance meeting the general intent of the official plan, staff note that the overall scale of the building is minimally impacted by the proposed addition. And views from the streetscape are buffered by landscaped area in front of landscape area and fencing. There is also significant distance separation from the western side of the property to any neighbors or the road itself, so that the sunroom will be largely, private and compatible with the area. Staff are of the opinion that the intent of the official plan is maintained. With regards to the zoning bylaw, as a corner lot dwelling, the exterior lot line provision applies, but the proposed addition will not adversely impact the streetscape or neighborhood. Staff are of the opinion that the requested variance is in keeping with the intent of the zoning bylaw and provides for appropriate privacy and spacing between dwellings. The proposed variance being considered desirable for the appropriate development of the land. Staff are of the opinion that the proposed addition will not negatively impact the existing neighborhood character. A sunroom addition fits the character of the neighborhood and will also be appropriately screened. Therefore, staff are of the opinion that the requested variance is desirable for the appropriate development of the land. With regards to the variance being considered minor in nature, the proposed addition to the one-story detached dwelling is considered moderate in scale, and the requested variance is not anticipated to result in any negative impacts to the neighborhood or abutting property. Therefore, staff are of the opinion that the requested variance is minor in nature. Additional comments. Building division. The preliminary zoning review was completed on December the 19th of 2022. Engineering division, no comments. Operational services parks, no further comments, but reference condition A. Operational services public works and Central York Fire, not received, comments not received. LSRCA, York Region and Electra Utilities, no comments. At the time of the writing of the report, there were no written submissions received on this application. And again, we do have Appendix A with recommended conditions of approval. And there are sorry, my screen just jumped around here. My apologies. So all of those conditions are appearing in the appendix. I'll ask if the owner or agent, I believe the owner and owners and agent are with us this evening. And I'll ask them if they wish to make a presentation. And while we wait for them to join us, there were 7 conditions of approval for the application. I apologize, my screen just jumped around a little bit there.
Through the chair, it looks like they're there without their video on.
Yeah. It looks like their audio is on, but no video. So I believe it is, and I apologize again if I mispronounce this, I believe it is Kianush Sejhai. If you're there and can turn your camera on, that would be great.
Do you hear me?
Yes.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Sorry about that. I'm trying to get your my face, but it's not possible. My name is Kianish Seji, and I am the owner from the house 416 in 480 Stone Road in Aurora, and I wish to approve my application for minor variance. I have no idea this is the first time I have such as work, because my contractor, actually he started everything, is out of country, and he has family problem in Iran, and I have to answer every question you have to me. Sorry about that.
Okay. Okay, so that's fine. So long as we can hear you. And I recognized at the very onset that you are the owner of the property. And And all right, so there's no presentation then that you wish to make, am I correct?
It's nothing. Also, I think I can give all the planning on everything to Mr. Fan, and it is nothing extra I have to provide it. I cannot provide it.
No, that's
Adjustment.
fine. We do have all of the details on the structure and the plans that were subsequently submitted. We do recognize that these drawings were submitted in December 19th of 2022 and have been reviewed. And staff are supporting this application. I'll go to members then. There are no, I believe, members of the public with us this evening on this application. So I'll go straight to members of the committee with any comments or questions on this application. I'll just preface it by saying that we're not looking for permission to do something. My standard comment is we're looking for, instead of permission, we're looking for forgiveness on this one, members of the committee, as construction has obviously taken place before the application. So Daniel, I did see your hand up there, so please go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through the chair. There's an echo. So my question is to the applicant. Simply, have you gone through the conditions? Have you spoken to your not your developer, but your contractor on those conditions? Is there any conditions here that are problematic based on the fact that the work has already started? I'm thinking specifically on if there has been any. I remember one tree in front of that area. If there's any damage, any concerns, just pretty much asking you if you are aware of the 7 conditions, and that you will provide them to your contractor to review and to be compliant with.
Actually, also we had no problem. The tree beside our house is at least 1 meter gap between the building on the tree. Is no damage, nothing on it. We shorter a little bit from the also the side, but it's nothing happens to the tree. Nothing. I don't think also is any problem to remove the tree.
Okay, thank you through the chair. I just wanted to confirm, since the contractor is not here with us today.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Daniel. That was a good point to bring forward. Thank you for that. David, I see your hand up.
Through the chair, as similar sort of questions, but I want to just go a little bit deeper. I had concerns with the trees on the property, but I see that the conditions, they are sort of covering the recommendations, recommended conditions of approval. They seem to be covering this. But the applicant, in answering one of the questions from one of the members, she said the tree is about 1 meter from the structure. So my question to her is, and the reasoning for this, I should say the basis of the question, is the tree, you are talking about tree roots and so on. And that's why probably there's need for carrying out this arborist report or evaluation report to see if the roots may be affected and therefore the tree may die. So the question to the applicant, if she knows, what is the depth of the foundation of that structure? If she knows the depth of the foundation of that structure.
Oh, okay. Also, we have we have actually six. We use the tube, also fill out from cement in the also it is not foundation, it is more also this is 6-time tube fill out with the cement as a foundation.
So how deep is it from the ground? From the ground going?
Oh, from the ground, from
Going
the
deep
ground,
to-
I send it to the thickness is actually exactly 48 inches.
Okay, so those are inches. Okay, I was not sure. I wanted to just confirm. I'm seeing, I can read from the drawing here, but I was not sure about the measurements. So 48 inches, you're talking about 4 feet.
4 feet, yes. This is 4 feet is
So-
the tube on from the ground is until the building is so about 2 times
approximately
9.
1.2 meters, approximately. So
Yeah.
it's deep, it's 1 point, so that could affect the roots of the trees because it's a bit deeper. But at the moment, I would say that will be established by the evaluation report, which has to be done by the arborist. So in that case, if let's say the committee approves this, my question, my ask from the chair would be that condition number 2, instead of reading, the owner may be required to provide an evaluation report, which is an arborist report. I would request that it should read, the owner shall provide an evaluation report, because that report will be able to establish if there's any impact on the tree, and if the tree will be, let's say, will die, that evaluation report will actually recommend replanting of trees or whatever it is, recommendation will be in that report because of the tree which may be impacted. But it may be different. It may, through investigation, it may find that maybe the tree will not be affected. So still, that report is required. So it's not that it may be required, but shall be provided. That's what I would request. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, David. So this would be an amendment to condition number 2
Yeah.
in Appendix A. And it would be to change the wording in condition 2 to read that the owner shall be required as opposed to may be required.
Yeah.
Okay. So when a motion does come forward, members of the committee, and wherever that motion comes from, if we can keep that in mind, I don't have a problem in supporting that particular change, given the fact that construction already started. Thank you, David. Any other comments from members of the committee on this one? Linda, I see your hand up. Please go ahead.
Thank you through the chair. Yeah, just the comment being that that it was started without a building permit, that it was started without with a contractor that didn't realize that he needed a building permit to build something like this. The fact that it hadn't been inspected during construction whatsoever until I think the town came in and saw that this was underway already. I think it's, well, let's just say, I don't think that's the right way to do it. I understand it's a forgiveness thing. I'm with you on that, but I think it's pretty, negligent on the owner's part to think that you can actually build something in your backyard this size with 6 sonotubes going in the ground at 4 feet deep with the trusses, with the joist going along the bottom as it is and the size of 120 square feet that you don't need a permit for. So the trees are probably not going to make it. There was no surround around them. They weren't taken care of properly. I hope they live, and I hope if they don't, they get replaced. That's really all I had to say. Thanks.
Thank you, Linda. Steve or Daniel, gentlemen?
No, thank you, Mr. Chair. I think my colleagues have covered everything that I would have covered, and thank them for that.
Thank you, Stephen. Daniel?
I was first. I already asked my questions. I'm good, Mr.
Yes, you're right. Thank you. Thank you, Daniel. Question to the applicant then. Can I ask the applicant, was a contractor involved with this project right from the very beginning?
Yes, Mr. Chair. He was involved from the start on, he gave me no, and not enough information about zoning bylaw. I told him, you take care of everything, and he said, yes. And after that, advised by this town of city, we don't have any permit, but it was before a sunroom there. Only we extended a little bit on the side. It was something there. In the time I bought the house was existing. We don't also put also a big room there. It was a little bit because of the tornado last year is damaged, and we wanted to repair, and then we thought maybe we can do that a little bit bigger because our family growing, and we thought it's not enough room for us, but I didn't have any idea for regulation. Sorry about that.
So let me ask you then, was the existing structure that you removed, did it line up with the existing house? Was the side of
Yes.
it? It did. So you've
Yes.
effectively doubled the size of what was there, if I understand you correctly.
Less than double, yeah.
A little bit
This
less.
is now 150 square feet, 160 square feet. Before was 110 square feet, I think.
Okay. I'm surprised, and I'll just say that I'm very surprised that because you were moving the structure to even larger than it originally was, and you're moving it closer to the street, that you wouldn't recognize that maybe there's a reason for the house being located where it is, and that moving it closer to the street might in fact be a problem. But having said that, obviously we are here today looking to rectify something that was done and is now existing. The probably only reason that I would support this, quite frankly, is that your staff report or the staff report is recommending it. Otherwise, I don't think I would be in a position to support it. However, with that said, and there being no comments from the public that we are aware of, I'll look to members of the committee then for, unless there are any other comments or questions, for a motion on this application. Yes, David, please go right ahead.
Through the chair, I move that the minor variance application NV-2023-02 be approved, subject to the recommended conditions of approval in the staff's report, we see condition number 2 being modified to read that the owner shall be required to provide an evaluation report, and the rest of it being the same.
Thank you very much. I'll look to the committee then for a second on that motion. Daniel, thank you very much. All of those in favor? Okay. Some hesitation around the table this evening, but that passes. So I'll thank the owner for being with us this evening and responding to our comments and our questions. And I'll wish you a very pleasant evening.
Thank you very much again, and thank you again. Good evening. Bye.
Thank you. Good evening. Okay, moving on then to the next application that we have on the agenda this evening is, okay. This application is for 17 Hawthorne Lane. It is minor variance MV 2023-01, and the name is Kalili. The applicant is requesting relief from the requirements of the town's comprehensive zoning bylaw 6000-17 as amended to facilitate the construction of a new 2-story single detached dwelling on an existing vacant lot. The applicant previously received minor variance application approval from the Committee of Adjustment in October of 2017. But the approval has since expired, thereby requiring the applicant to reapply. The proposed variance is as follows. The following relief is being requested for the proposed 2-story detached dwelling. A, section 7.2 of the zoning bylaw requires a minimum front yard setback of 9.0 meters. The applicant is requesting a front yard setback of 8.7 meters, thereby requiring a variance of 0.3 meters. B, section 7.2 of the zoning bylaw requires a minimum interior side yard setback of 3.0 meters. The applicant is requesting an interior side yard setback of 2.3 meters on the west side, thereby requiring a variance of 0.7 meters. C, section 7.2 of the zoning bylaw requires a minimum interior side yard setback of 3.0 meters. The applicant is requesting an interior side yard setback of 2.2 meters on the east side, thereby requiring a variance of 0.8 meters. D, section 5.61 III of the zoning bylaw allows a maximum driveway width of 10.0 meters if the lot frontage is 18 meters or greater, with the exception that the maximum driveway at the street line shall not exceed 6 meters. The applicant is requesting a driveway width of 7 meters at the street line, thereby requiring a variance of 1 meter. As a comparison, from the variance that came before the committee in 2017, there is a table that shows the difference between the two variances. It's worth noting that the front yard setback in 2017 was 8.5 meters. The current application is 8.7. The interior side yard setback in 2017 was 3 meters. The current application is 2.3. The interior side yard setback in 2017 was 2.5 meters. Currently, it is 2.2. The driveway width at the street line in 2017 was 6.65 meters, and the current application 7 meters. The rear yard setback was 8.7 meters. The current application does not require a variance. Additional variances were required for the chimney and eave projections ranging to 1.7 meters. And today we note that there are no variances additional in this area. Worth noting, the applicant stated reasons for not complying. And in quotes, our client applied for a variance to permit for this house and property a few years back. Rapidly changing family dynamics and space requirements caused them to pause and reconsider. Minor changes were made to the plans and elevations, resulting in a slightly wider home requiring different side yard setbacks and modifications to their previously approved variance items. Effectively, the same house with very minor changes. We believe this application remains minor and appropriate. The new design appropriately fulfills the current and future needs of the client. Planning comments. With regards to the variance meeting the general intent of the official plan, the intent of the official plan designation is to ensure neighborhoods are protected from incompatible forms of development while allowing the neighborhoods to be enhanced over time. The general neighborhood setting is characterized by 1- and 2-story dwellings, and the scale of the proposed building matches the existing streetscape, including infill development that has occurred at neighboring properties. Staff are of the opinion that the general intent of the official plan is maintained. With regards to the general intent of the zoning bylaw, the front yard setback being proposed will still align with that of other properties along the street. The requested interior side yard setbacks will also still provide adequate space between properties as part of the single detached residential setting. The proposed increased driveway width aligns with driveway widths of neighboring properties and will not have any negative impact on the streetscape, as there is sufficient room for on-street parking and ample space between driveways on the street. The property also has sufficient lot frontage to accommodate the width at over 22 meters. Staff are of the opinion that the requested variances are in keeping with the intent of the zoning bylaw and will result in minimal to no impacts. With regards to it being considered desirable for the appropriate development of the land, staff are of the opinion that the proposed 2-story detached dwelling will not negatively impact the existing neighborhood character. Staff are of the opinion that the requested variance is desirable for the appropriate development of the land. With regards to the variances being considered minor in nature, the proposed 2-story detached dwelling is considered comparatively moderate in scale, and the requested variances are not anticipated to result in any negative impacts. As such, staff are of the opinion that the variances is minor in nature. Additional comments. Building Division completed its preliminary zoning review December the 12th of 2022. Engineering Division has no comments. Operational Services Parks, no comments, subject to the conditions as outlined in Appendix A. Operational Services Public Works and Central York Fire Services, no comments were received. LSRCA, York Region, and Electro Utilities, no comments. Now, at the time of the writing of the report, there were no comments, no submissions, no written submissions. However, we did receive comments from staff today. And I am hoping, and we will get to that in a moment, that the owners and agent have also seen those comments and may wish to comment on the contents of the submissions that we have received. And I'll just, for the record, Appendix A includes conditions of approval, and there are 7 of them there, and we will verify with the applicant that they are aware of those conditions and are prepared to accept them. So with that, I see that we have a number of people who are with us this evening, and I'll ask if the applicant or agent wishes to make a presentation to us. I believe Peter Giordano is the agent representing the owner. Good evening, sir, and I believe we do have the owners with us as well. So Mr. Giordano or the owners, I'll first of all welcome you to the meeting this evening. And is there a presentation that you wish to make?
There is, Mr. Chair. I have a brief presentation. The comments from staff did address many of the items that we have in our presentation. So if I could ask the moderator to display the presentation and just advance straight to slide number 3.
Peter, for the record, can I get your full name and address, please?
Yes, absolutely. Peter Giordano, David Small Designs, 1405 Cornwall Road in Oakville, as the authorized agents.
Thank you very much and welcome.
Thank you. So the existing survey is shown on the screen. Just want to briefly point out that the proposed dwelling is in fact further back than the existing dwelling, but you can see that the street and the adjacent homes in terms of the streetscape does have a nice stagger to it. And we're working with that same stagger in terms of the streetscape. Next slide, please. As was noted already by staff comments, our clients do have an active permit. So they have a permit that now, when they came back to us and approached us looking for revisions to be implemented to their drawings, again, changing family dynamics, they did their due diligence with builders and had some pricing done and had made some decisions now with builder input. And these are some of the changes. They're pretty minor. The house appears the same as it did before, except some of the materials changed. We have brick with some cut stone on the front elevation. We introduced a gable on the far left bay of the garage, the individual bay, which before had an overlooking balcony from the second floor. What's not obvious in this plan, of course, is that the home before had a 3rd level. It had a loft level. They've entirely removed that loft level, so it's really fundamentally just a 2-story home. Size of the house remains. We're as of right for building height on the house. Next slide, please. Again, material change on the front and on the sides are mostly what you would notice here. There aren't any other physical changes on this elevation, other than the fact I will point out that the variance item for this side of the house, which is the west side of the house, is taken to the apex, the tangent curve of that bow window. So the element that you see right in the middle of the screen, 2-story with a conical roof over top of it, that is the element that creates the side yard setback. Otherwise, the rest of the wall is fully as of right. It meets the 3-meter side yard setback, and at the front, it projects even further back than we're required. Next slide, please. No visual changes from the back by way of massing or articulation. It's really just the material change again on this elevation. Next slide, please. So we've done a full turn around the house. This is the left side. I've highlighted in blue 2 additional windows that were added one to the garage. So there's letting in some light to the back end of the garage. The one on the second floor is a window for the bedroom at the front, which previously had its glass area from the front of the elevation where the balcony occurred. We had to replace that by code to have an appropriate window. So there's a window added to the side, meets code, meets side yard setbacks, OBC for unprotected openings. Next slide, please. This is a side-by-side comparison of what was approved before and what we're applying for today. And it'll show you that the front yard setback, the dashed line is actually the connecting of the dots, minimum front yard setback on the two sides. There is a dashed line, it's a little hard to read, but it does show that we're further back than the existing house that was built. And of course, because of the tapering property, even though we do have a minimum side yard setback that requires a variance, there are portions of that front yard that do meet the requirement. It's the minimum setback that's required for item number one. Item number two are the side yards. I've shown a blue dashed line that's at the apex of the curve of the bow window. That's item number two on the screen on your right side. That's the one I had mentioned conforms. The item number three is also the side yard variance on the other side. We feel it's quite minor. 2.2, we previously had an approval of 2.5. The minimum required setback is 3 meters, and we've got a good separation between us and the owners on that side. Maximum permitted driveway, we meet the requirement for the driveway except where it connects to the road. So again, we're required a 7 meter side yard garage driveway width where it actually connects to the road. So it's the 6.65 meter driveway width at the front, which is the final variance item there. Next slide, please. So I'll go through these quite quickly. Construction has not started. Excavation was done. Our clients got to the point where they realized with cost and with family dynamics that they needed to change it slightly. So you can see what the imagery is of adjacent homes. And it's sitting here basically waiting for approval. Like I said, there is an active permit, but they don't plan on starting based on that permit without a top up with the revisions and these variance items. Next slides are just character slides for the neighborhood. If you care to leaf through those, effectively those would be my comments. We do have a letter of support, but we understand there's a letter of opposition. It does speak more to the fact that the property has been sitting vacant while they're waiting to advance for a building permit. There's criticism about the lack of progress on the site. That's entirely being unaware that there's an issued building permit on the site and that they're waiting for updated approvals to be able to build the house. That's effectively my presentation. If you have any questions, I'm available.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Because of the late correspondence that we've received, I want to just circle back with staff here very quickly. Peter, we don't have any member of the public with us this evening on this application, do we? Sorry, Peter, I didn't hear that.
Through you, Mr. Chair, there is no public correspondence for this application.
Okay, thank you. Let me just make sure, members of the committee, just a quick show of hands. Did everyone receive those copies of emails? Okay, we're good. Thank you. Just wanted to make sure I didn't see them myself until late. I guess I've been running around today as well.
Through the chair, just to double check that there was two.
Yeah, that's correct.
Two letters of opposition this afternoon came through.
That's correct. There were two.
Okay, thank you.
Steve? See your hand up
Through you,
there.
Mr. Chair, the agent referenced one and referenced that it was respect to the maintenance of the property and items really that are not before us today. But I think the second one, while referencing the same concerns, also had some complaints with respect to compliance with zoning applications, zoning requirements. So I just wanted to make sure that the applicant had, or the agent had seen both of the letters that came through today. Because it did speak to the second one.
Through you, Mr. Chair, what we received in our email was the original letter of support that was included and the letter of opposition. So we did receive two attachments, but what was sent to us was the letter of support, which we did receive previously about a week back, and the letter of opposition. All I was aware of is the single letter from number 9 Hawthorne Lane. That's the only one I was aware of.
So there
Sorry.
is one.
Through you, Mr. Chair, the letter of opposition provided to the applicants has both of the letters of opposition included within the one file.
Was not aware of that. Thank you.
And to Steve's comment, and Peter, if I may, Peter, the comment that that you may be missing, that Steve is referring to, does speak to zoning issues. So I'll park it there right now for the moment. I have a feeling maybe this will come up in discussion with members of the committee. If it doesn't, I will probably bring it up. But let me go to other members of the committee first off. So are there any comments or questions to the applicant or staff on this particular application? Daniel, see your hand up there, so please go right ahead.
Thank you, through the chair. I guess I'll get one thing out of the way first and ask a question to the town through you, Mr. Chair. There is one comment. I just wanted to get the town's point of view regarding the letter of opposition that was provided. The first one by Mr. Stan Neal, there was a reference in there regarding a underground stream that caused the construction to cease. Now, I know there's probably a lot of speculation and hearsay, but I wanted to know through the town, was that an actual real issue? Was there an underground stream that caused any delays? And if so, has there been any environmental assessment done as a result of it?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, I can answer that question. And as you can see in the report as well, there are no comments from the LSRCA as it is not part of the regulated area, and that is not to our knowledge a factor in this decision.
Okay, so LSRCA, I understand, but if this is a stream that is in the town's purview, do we? Not at all. I see. Okay, perfect. Okay, so then I'm good with the town. So I'll ask a question now to the applicant. First one, which goes to the whole continuous comment that we've had over the years in terms of where's the harm. So you made the comment, I believe, Mr. Adam, that on the, I'm trying to find what is north, what is south here, but let's say on the, if you're looking at the front door, on the right side, there is that window well. And that window well is the reason why you cannot comply with the requirement on that side. That being the case, what is the absolute necessity of having such a window well? Why not simply be in compliance with bylaw? Why push for such a window well?
Through you, Mr. Chair, it's effectively, it's not a window well, it's actually a bow window. So it's a curved section of wall that it runs 2 stories and just highlights the space from the inside. That wall, those windows by code require fenestration on that one side. So it's providing that through a bow window. Again, the portion of it could be argued, why does any item need a variance? But the portion of it that projects the furthest is the portion that's creating the variance. Otherwise, the rest of that wall does comply.
Okay, but I don't think you answered my question, and I apologize if I used window well instead of bow window. But why have the bow window? Why not have a flat wall that goes all the way through and just put a flat window like every other window on the home?
Through you, Mr. Chair, good question. I mean, what it was originally was that, so we effectively had that before, and it was set back and approved on the previous committee. Understand this is a different committee, but it was approved, and effectively what we did, we tried to maintain what was the original goal and intention of the design and what the clients had wanted for the appearance and for the aesthetics. So it was basically bumping that wall out because of the additional space on the inside. So there wasn't an attempt to make that an additional encroachment. It was just a continuation of what was there before.
Okay, and just please note, at least from my point of view, something that happened 6 years ago, I will not be taking into account. I'm looking at this from fresh eyes. So my recommendations, comments, and decision will be based on what is in front of me here today. The second comment I have is regarding the driveway. We got about 7 meters, if exactly 7 meters, no, 6.95 meters of width to the driveway at its widest, and then approximately another 8 meters of grass. Is the 7 meters simply requested because you wanted door-to-door asphalt? Is it simply to line up with the garage doors, or are you going larger than the garage doors? That would be to you, Mr. Adam. Am I the one having a problem?
Through you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, so.
Was that not meant for me?
Yeah, that should be for Peter and.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I apologize for saying Mr.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
not in my element here right now.
Yeah, no, I apologies on Daniel's behalf. He's actually out of the country, and so his internet connection might not be quite as smooth as we would all hope. But yes, Peter, so the comment is, or the question is to you, and I won't repeat it. I think you did hear him.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, we did hear him fine. It is the alignment of the driveway to the garage, so it's not wider than what the garage is. It's fully in line with the garage. We are allowed the width beyond the front projection at the street. It's really the connection at the street. So we could have brought that driveway in a straight line from the garage and then diverted it to the street. We're asking for that small diversion to be a continuous line so that it's a more regular looking driveway at the front there. We could accommodate it without that. We're asking for that as a request as a minor variance.
Okay. Yeah, I'm happy with that aspect. Okay, through you, Mr. Chair, I think those are my main questions that are top of mind, and I'm seeing signs here that my internet is failing, so I'm just going to leave it. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Terrific. Let me go to other members of the committee. Steve, please go right ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. I may be beating you to it here, but I would like to read out loud the certain text that I think is applicable here, and it probably builds on what my colleague Daniel was saying from the letter of opposition. And I would like to note that just for the record, that from what I can tell, The letter of support is from a resident that doesn't appear to live on the same street as the applicants. The letters of opposition are from neighbors, and one appears to be an abutting neighbor. And it's from this neighbor that they say, let me see here, I've got this note here. And I will note that the issues of maintenance, I think the town and the complaints with respect to the lot and the delay and the maintenance of the property, for anybody of the residents that are watching online, those are not before us tonight. The town has a separate process for dealing with unmaintained properties if that were the case. So that's not central to my consideration. However, the second part of the email that says, regardless of these issues, which do not form part of the requested amendments to the zoning bylaw, it needs to be noted that over the past few years, the zoning bylaws on Hawthorne Lane have changed to become more permissive. We would like to believe that a home of this magnitude would be able to fit nicely within those parameters. We don't believe that more relief is required from the currently established setbacks, which are now more lenient than when we built our home over 8 years. So through you, Mr. Chair, I do have a series of questions there. And the first, if I could direct to the town. Adam, I'm not sure if you have this now, and perhaps we can come back to you if you don't, but are you aware of any changes to the bylaw? Because I guess over the past 8 years, but I think specifically between when the first application was approved and when they are now, are the setbacks that we're talking about consistent here over the two?
So what I can confirm is that on June 27th of 2017, council approved the currently enforced bylaw 6000-17. I can try and dig up the old permissions around that R2 zone right now and get back to you on further details if I'm able to find them, but the effective date of the current bylaw was that June 2017 timeline.
Okay, thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, that's great, because I think you know, the initial application was 2017 too. So I think you know, I think that's a relevant point in terms of, you know, what the setbacks were. And through you, Mr. Chair, to Mr. Giordano, first of all, thank you for the presentation. I think it was very, very well done. And from my perspective, the variances are minor in nature, which is one of the tests, and I certainly will acknowledge that. But from my perspective, I think when we're looking at a stable neighborhood, which is what we're in right now, when we're looking at a house that's almost 5,000 square feet, I think 4,800 square feet, building on my colleague's comment here, I think we need a good reason to ask for a variance here, and to, especially in our, you can ask for anything, but in my view, to grant a variance, I think we need a good reason. And I understand, personally, I understand the driveway at the, you know, we have had some discussions on the committee. I think having a straight driveway versus a curved driveway, especially for parking and maneuvering, that makes sense to me. I think you've done a good, you know, job of explaining the front yard, which really 0.3 meters is really immaterial in terms of, you know, the amount of front yard setback. But when we start getting to side yard setback and a bowed window versus a flat window, I mean, one of the questions on the application form is, why can you not comply with the zoning bylaw? And I think that should be the first question. Why can't you comply? And then we can get to, you know, what is the need to do it? But building on what, you know, and I'll ask the question here and just leave it to you, Mr. Giordano. Why can we not comply in a 4,800 square foot house with side yard setbacks of 3 meters? It sounds to me like this is a design element that we want, right? You've referenced that there are changing needs in the family. If you could explain to me the bow window, what the changing need is for a bow window and the encroachment there, and then explain to me the encroachment on the other side and what the need is to be able, for me to consider granting those side yard setbacks.
Certainly, through you, Mr. Chair. I can't specifically justify that a curved window is any better than a flat window. We've got a wall on the west side that is as of right, except for that feature. I would suggest it's similar to, a projecting pier on the side of a wall that creates a side yard setback only at the pier. That happens quite often. It's an architectural feature. This is an architectural feature. Again, we would prefer not to remove it. If we had to remove it, we could. To justify what the requirements were for the side yard setbacks, we've effectively removed a large amount of space from the third floor, the upper loft level. We've taken that and brought it down into the lower space. Again, family dynamics, family need. You're taking floor area on the upper floor and you're forcing it to the ground and second. You fit that in. It needs to expand slightly, and in our opinion, it did expand slightly. If we tried to maintain the setback on one side, so we were very responsible to try to maintain it on one side, we could have made the variances that much smaller and just kind of tweaked it in the middle a little bit, so that extra area that we needed on the lower floor, on the second floor, as a result of bringing that floor area down. I will note to you that if you look at the comparison between the approved building permit and what we're proposing right now, is about 400 square feet less, but that doesn't fully account for the area on the upper floor. We did take that area on the upper floor. We're bringing it back down to the lower floor. That automatically requires a stretching of the elements on the lower floor, which does now impact side yard setbacks. That is fundamentally the need for the variances on the side yards.
Thank you for that. And through you, Mr. Chair, I think, Mr. Giordano, that just emphasizes my point. I think there's a question here of maximizing space and wanting design elements at the same time, and not really compromising on either, right? Because I noticed that we've gone to the lot coverage, so pretty much the maximum of the lot coverage, 4,800 square feet, and we want two design elements that are going to encroach. I think it's possible to have those design elements and just basically move your walls in without really, from what I see, any significant hardship. We're not talking about, I think it's one or the other. And personally, if I may make a recommendation, Mr. Chair, I would ask that we vote on each of these elements of the minor variance separately. As personally, I am prepared to support the driveway and the front yard setback, but I think it's a bit of, I've said this before, I think it's a bit of a slippery slope here, right? We're meeting the client's needs, but the zoning requirements are there for a purpose. And if there is a real need to go beyond the zoning requirements on a truly exception basis, we've got to grant it. But, it just, okay, these are 0.7 meters, and then we look at the next one, which is 0.8, and the next thing we want 3 meter separation between houses for a reason. And I will make one further note here. If you look at this street, the streetscape, this is supposed to be a stable neighborhood. And you look at the east side and all of the infill, and I really don't see a state. It's as if there's a line and we're in two different worlds here. And I made the comment before, this is not before us, but I think that a few of the houses on the site plan review process failed on this street, not necessarily this house, but in a couple of cases in my mind where the materials and the design are not stable. And so I think we have an obligation here to really ensure that we're not setting a precedent and starting a slippery slope. So my personal view is I'm prepared to support the two variances, the driveway and the front yard setback. The side yards, I'm not hearing a good reason to support those. Okay, so thank you, Mr. Chair, and And I would not support them based on, I recognize that they're minor in nature. Absolutely. I don't think they're consistent with the official plan, and the objective of the stable neighborhood. And I don't think it's the best use of the property to go beyond the side yard setbacks. So that would be my position. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Steve. In light of Steve's comments, as the chair, I will, taking that without any comments from either member of the committee, including myself, we can poll or vote on each of those separately. There's no problem in us doing that. So for the record, again, we can go through them on an individual basis. Let me turn then to other members of the committee for any comments or questions to the applicants. Okay, Linda, I saw your hand come up there first, so go right ahead. And I'll ask, there's your mic.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you through the chair. Yeah, I'm going to just keep quiet here. My colleagues have both said exactly what I was going to say. Well, Steve did say a lot better, but aside from that, basic same premise. I was going to say the exact same thing. There's no reason for a 5,000 square foot house not to meet the variances, the bylaws that are required that are put out by the town of Aurora. It's as simple as that. This property has been under construction or not since 2017. There's been enough time to tweak it to make it fit. Honestly, there's been enough time, and obviously you've come up with different ideas. I also am not looking at what was approved before. That wasn't before me, so I got nothing to say about that one at all. I'm looking at your latest stuff. So comparing to it's irrelevant. It really is. For me, as the same as it was for my other colleague. So I'm going to leave it at that for now. I know Tom's got some input as well, and David, so I'll leave it at that, but I am in favor of voting individually and doing as Steve said. And I think that's it. Yeah, I'm just going to leave it at that for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. David, please go right ahead.
Through the chair, with some, maybe I'll say mainly one question and comments. It's good you have a committee about the diverse views. I want to the applicant to comment on the existence or non-existence of trees on this property, and also on the possible impact of the canopy and roots of the trees on the adjacent property to the west, which you have shown also in the drawing, and also you go to the site, you see that. So if you could comment on that, basically I would say, can you confirm the existence and the non-existence of trees on this property? That would be the part one. And the second part would be what from you, maybe you have an arborist or whoever, if there'll be, I can see the trees, there's canopy, even on your drawing, the canopy of the trees, the trees are on the other property to the west, but the canopy goes onto your property. So what's the impact from what you understand of the development, whether it would be the building of it, grading, foundation, and on the canopy, maybe you need to cut the canopy or what's it going to do, and if at all on the roots, because you have a foundation and looking at the trees are big trees, maybe they have roots which, even if the trees are on adjacent property, but the trees may go, to your property. So if you could comment on those two.
It's certainly through you, Mr. Chair. There are no trees on our property. There are trees on the adjacent property, primarily the trees on the rear west side of the property. There is a tree that is about 1.5 meters away from the property. It's a coniferous tree. They tend to have lesser crown size. The distance from that tree, we have studied that. The distance, even though the wall at that point would comply with the side yard setback. We're cognizant of the fact that there's a tree there. The distance to the tree is approximately 15 feet. So with the depth of the foundation, the house is approximately 2 feet out of the ground. We've got a 9-foot basement, so the excavation to the underside of footing in that location would be approximately 8'6", approximately that. Because the hole has been dug, the excavation is there. We have tested the soil to confirm that the density meets the government labor requirement for a 60-degree slope cut. 60-degree slope cut on a foundation that's about 8.5 feet deep is approximately 6 feet out. So our dig would be approximately 6 feet out, which puts us about 4 feet from our property line. And then we're another 1.5 meters beyond that. So 15 feet with about a 6-foot dig, we're about 9 feet away from the tree at the maximum point of the dig, but that's the top of the slope. So as we taper down, it gets better. We're certainly open to having an arborist on site to ensure that there aren't any primary tree roots or structural roots that impact that tree. Whether there's one that is directly perpendicular that affects our property is possible, but also potentially not. We're willing to investigate that. That's the only tree, that one tree that's at all close to our excavation. There's a tree beyond that in the rear yard that isn't affected by our excavation, and it's a much smaller tree.
Okay, a follow-up question. When you are digging, did you notice any like interception with the roots, or you didn't see any roots?
I would ask our client, Nick, to comment on that.
Yeah, so through Mr. Chair, when the house that was there prior to the building permit, when it was part of the demolition process, there was a bit of excavating done, and there were no new roots that were interfering with our property on our property line.
Okay. What about the? Okay, thank you. What about the? If you look at the tree at near the back on the west, mainly, if you look at the canopy, it shows the canopy will go even up to your building. Have you looked at that in terms of any impact on the canopy?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I've had discussions with our arborist on that one, and the way he's explained it to us is that at that point, those branches would be considered part of the shared part of the tree, of the component. We would have to carefully prune the upper branches, but they certainly would be viable for pruning. I would say just generically that the circle that gets drawn by the arborist when it gets, or the surveyor when it gets plotted on the drawings, is typically in relation to the diameter of the trunk. So it's likely, again, being that it's a coniferous tree, it's not perfectly round, obviously. It'll have an ability to prune some of those elements to keep them away from the house. We're obviously as concerned about trees as anyone. We will do our due diligence to ensure that the trees are properly protected.
Yeah, I noticed those would be addressed via the arborist or evaluation report, which is one of the recommended conditions. Yeah. I just want to comment in general. I know my comment may not be very important because we have all looked at the same staff's report in terms of the statistics, especially the comparison of the previous, approved variances and the current ones. But I just want to, just for the sake of emphasizing my view, because we all have different views. If you look at the one which to me I see probably is the still is minor is the west side variance. We recognize from the previous approval there was no variance; it was zero. And it probably because the wall was straight. But the current one now you have introduced is just 0.7 meters. And then if you look at the one about the front yard setback, the previous was 0.5, now it's 0.3, just a difference of 0.2, which is 20 centimeters. If you look at the east side, again, the previous one was 0.5, now it's 0.8, a difference of 0.3 is 1 foot. If you look at the driveway width, the previous one was over by 0.65. Now it's over by 1 meter, which is the difference of 0.35, which is also about a foot. So I'm looking at the analysis here of the variance versus how it was done or what it was before and now. So for me, the worry about the west variance is the impact. The one of the attic cave window is the impact of that only the tree roots or canopy. The distance of 2.3 meters. If you look at most of the houses around these subdivisions, even new subdivisions, I can't say much, but you know what I would imply. And if you look at some of the ones we have looked at before, we have had things 1 meter, 2 meters. This is, you are talking about 2.2, 2.3 meters. It's a good distance, but I will leave that. This is my own analysis. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, David. So let me just take a moment. Rob, I don't know that you need to look it up, but in the event that you did, maybe you can just reconfirm this. The current bylaw was adopted in June of 2017. The previous minor variance application came to the committee in October. So we've had consistency in the previous application under the zoning that we are under today. If I'm reading this correct, Rob, if I'm right on this, do you want to just confirm that? Adopted in June of 2017. The original application was in October, so it would have been under bylaw 6000. Am I correct?
Yeah, so I believe you mean me, Adam.
Sorry,
and
Adam.
No worries. And what I did do that digging as per the previous question as well. And the only discrepancy I could find, I'll circle back to your question as well, Mr. Chair, was regarding the interior side yard setback, where from previous bylaw 2213-78, the minimum interior side yard was 4.5, and now in our current zoning bylaw, it is at 3 meters. So there is some validation to that statement. And going back to that question, I do not know exactly what the previous variance was applied to. I have a feeling it was applied to 2213-78, although it was October, the variance could have been submitted earlier than that date and therefore applied to the previous zoning bylaw.
Okay. Thanks very much for that, Adam. I appreciate it.
No problem.
While I still have you, Adam, and you may have to run and check on this, or maybe the owner or agent can answer this as well. In his presentation, Peter mentions that he has an active permit. So was there a permit, a full building permit issued under the previous variance?
I, again, would have to verify, but I can certainly look into that. I don't know off the top of my head here, but I can check for sure.
Or can the owners
answer
answer that?
number?
So
If you, I can answer that question, Peter, to Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
I can inform the committee that we do have, as it stands, a valid permit. In fact, if we wanted to proceed with building the house the way it was presented before, the valid building permit is there. And if I'm not mistaken, those drawings encroach further on the municipal bylaws with respect to the side yard setbacks. And just wanted to, before, because we seem that might be losing Adam from the meeting, I just want to ask if he's aware, since our application in 2017, are you aware of any other applications on the street where there are even further encroachments on the side yard setbacks and what we're asking for right now?
Through you, Mr. Chair, just to confirm, I'll be here all night. I'm not going anywhere. But again, I'd have to, defer to Peter as well for any variance history. But to my knowledge, off the top of my head, I'd have to do again a bit of digging to confirm some other applications that may have been received. On that note, there are certainly examples that have been highlighted tonight of other infill development developments that have occurred. And I will point out under Provincial Bill 23, there's no longer site plan control for residential developments up to 10 units. This is new legislation just to be mindful of as well. But yes, there certainly are other examples of infill development that have occurred. We'd have to check the variance history though.
Yeah, I'm okay. I'll confess. I was here in 2017.
I was here too.
But so there were two of us here. You're right, David. Both of us were here in 2017, and I've been racking my brain and I should have looked in my records just to see how I obviously, I may have voted very similar to on the application that came forward. So I like the other members of the committee today, base it on what I see. And just for clarification, Adam, they wouldn't be here today seeking a variance if the other one hadn't expired. Am I correct?
Correct. The previous variance has lapsed.
So just point of reference for the applicant and the owners, you don't have authority to continue. You may have a building permit, but because the time period under which that variance applies has expired. So right now, the only thing you can do is comply with the existing zoning bylaw. You'd have to file another building permit application or an amendment to the building permit application to bring it into conformity with the current zoning in order for you to put a shovel in the ground. So you don't have an active permit. You have a permit that was issued, but in essence has expired because the variance that you had in 2017 has expired. So I just want to make that clear. So we are in essence back to square one, right? David, I saw your hand come up there. Did you want to add anything to that?
I just want to add also, the design has changed. So the previous variances was based on different design, and they are the different variances, and the building permit was specific for that design. Now the design has changed. So even if the building permit they had, if they're going to revise the building, they are going to revise the building permit because the design has changed. I just want to emphasize that. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's my point, David, as well. It's if you look at condition 1 in the appendix, it's clear, right, that if we approve this, you would have to build in substantial conformity with the plans attached in B. So the level of detail that you provided in your drawings, which would form part of the minor variance, is what you would have to build. So again, I want it to be perfectly clear that regardless, your building permit would have to be either modified, which I don't think it could because it's lapsed. It's lapsed as your zoning variance has lapsed. And if I can, I think other members of the committee have picked up on the salient points in your neighbors' comments, and I like like my colleagues, some of their comments have no bearing at all on our review of the application that we have before us. But I do echo my colleagues' comments. They may have got a little bit of it from me over the years. I have a hard time struggling with variances that have come before the committee in the past and continue to come before the committee, where we look at the town's intent in bringing these regulations forward. There are very good reasons for it. And some of the comments that we receive over and over and over again are pleading with us as a committee to maintain those standards. And I'll mention that when you look at your site plan, looking down the garage side of the property, your neighbor at number 15 has a side yard setback there of 1.3 meters. And when you look at the spacing between that building and what you're proposing, there is an impact there overall, aesthetically, architecturally, possibly, and visually. So I recognize that what you're asking for on that side still leaves you with a side yard setback there, which is substantially greater than the 1.37 that your neighbor has on the existing home. On the other side, I look at that one and I see that it's 4.05 meters from the existing two-story dwelling to the property line there. So on that side, I don't really struggle quite as much. I recognize that it is just a window. And Peter, can you help me on that? What space in the home is that where the projection on that side is for that bow window? What space in the house is that? Can you tell me?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'll try to get that on my screen. I have it here. I believe it's the dining room. Yes, it's the dining room. So we functionally, by code, are required to have fenestration on that wall. So there does have to be windows on that wall. It's pretty typical architecturally to have bow windows with dining rooms. Not a reason necessarily for it, and I understand what's been presented today. But again, it's an attempt to make something interesting where the rest of the house, the rest of that wall is conforming as of right. So we were hopeful that, again, it's a half round circle, even a less than that. So as you're tapering around, it's getting further and further away from the setback. Again, with a larger distance from the neighbors, we saw that as a reasonable design feature on that side. You may not agree. It's what we were proposing.
And the space above on the second floor, what would that be? Do you know?
Yep, the space above is. It is the dressing room. So it is the primary bedrooms, dressing area. So again, with wall cabinets through that entire space, it's an attempt to bring some natural light into that space, make it a feature at the end. I think it would be a phenomenal feature from the inside looking out. We have to consider it both ways, and we accept whatever decision you give us.
Okay. Staff, I think I know the answer to this, but again, Adam, what's the rear? Can you tell me what the rear setback requirement is on that property?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, the R2 zone, I will just confirm it here. Rear yard for the R2, second density residential is 9 meters.
9 meters. So if I'm looking at the rear, I'm looking at a rear setback of 7.87 to the corner of what looks to be a balcony, is it?
It's the step to you, through you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, Peter, there's a staircase on the very corner, which is looks like 7.09 meters.
Yes, that's not a balcony, that's a lower terrace. So the stairs from grade are actually going below grade. Fortunately, the way wording is handled through that, that's typically not a setback that gets measured to in that circumstance.
Right, so if I go back to the very corner of the home, I'm looking at 11.94, is that correct?
That's correct. And I believe Adam can confirm it, but I believe that rear porch is an allowable encroachment on the back there, and that's why we get away with the 9-foot setback.
Correct. You explained that well, Peter, through you, Mr. Chair.
Yep, no, I appreciate that. So that 7.87 distance there is not there's no encroachment on the rear setback there at all.
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. I can certainly understand that. Okay.
Through you, Mr. Chair, if I could, I know you may be in committee. I just want to mention that, you know, we got a lot of our guidance from planning, and planning did support the application, and that's really why we moved forward and we got to this point with it. I'll leave the rest up to you. I understand you're here to make a decision today, but we had, you know, support from all staff. I'll just finish with that.
No, and you're right, Peter, you know, that's why I take the time at the onset when we're presenting these things to go through the staff's comments in a little bit greater detail, particularly for people who aren't really necessarily attending the meeting, but maybe listening or watching on the YouTube feed, just for clarity's sake as well. All right. Let me suggest the following. We will go through these on an individual basis because I, like one of my other colleagues, I'll come right to you there, Steve. I like one of my other colleagues, I'm struggling a little bit with these lateral setbacks, these side yard setbacks. I don't have necessarily a problem with the driveways. I think this committee has made comment on the driveway widths over the years that we've looked at these applications coming forward. And I think our consistency in allowing the widths to be expanded upon is pretty consistent. I don't have a problem with the front setback. I look at the staggering, Peter, that you talk about, and I would agree with you. I don't think that one is as much an issue at all. Those lateral setbacks, I really am struggling with at this point. And I'll just park it there for now. And let me circle around with the committee one more time. Steve, I saw your hand come up again, so go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And through you, I just thought I'd address the question and the comment by the owner in terms of if there are any other setbacks on the street. I don't know if Adam's had a chance to look that up, but I think it's been reinforced to us, and I think our standard is that we look at each application on a case-by-case basis. And you know, I think it is relevant in certain, you know, like we need to be consistent as a committee, and I think that we have been over our term at the very least. But if I think there's an error in just there's a potential error in just looking to see if there are other setbacks without understanding why the setbacks were granted. And I'll be clear. From a design perspective, I think the bowed window and your two design elements make perfect sense, and I like them. I just think that I get back to what I said earlier, that the town has a certain standard, and if you look at your neighbor, and this is the other challenge too, we often consider if right now your neighbor, I think to the let me see, to the west here, there's a significant setback there, on his side or his or her side. But we have to take into consideration if we start shrinking setbacks on one side, and to the consistency element, what happens if they now ask for a setback, and it gets back to my slippery slope. We've had ones, and you've got a neighbor that's 1.34. I can't speak to how that was approved or why it was approved, but now if we shrink it on our side, what the intent of the zoning is to maintain 6 meters between houses at its narrowest point here, we're going to be looking at, a little over 3 meters, right? Or half. So, that was my one comment there. I don't know if it helps, but we as a committee try and sort of be transparent in our thinking, and be, at the very least, be rational in our thinking and consistent. So that's one comment. And I just wanted to also comment on what my colleague David said, and touching on the canopy. I thought you were going to go there, David, and I don't. You normally do. The one condition says that we've been pretty consistent in changing the wording of the condition, that an arborist report may be required, especially in this case when we're talking about the canopy and the drawings are showing that the canopy overlaps with the proposed dwelling. I think I would suggest that we should change and make that a firm condition of approval if we were to approve any of these applications, that it would be required, it shall be required, given the concerns that I think David rightly raised about the canopy and the root structure. So those were my two comments based on what I heard today. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I think I saw Adam with his hand up.
Yeah, Adam, can you shed some light on that?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. And in reference to digging up some additional minor variance applications in relation to the street itself, I was able to find MV-2022-19 from this past July in relation to 3 Hawthorne Lane, which similarly is zoned R2. And in relation specifically to the interior side yard setback, section 7.2 of our zoning bylaws seeked relief from that 3 meters and was approved at 1.5 meters. And I would ask Peter to just verify those details as well.
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, I can confirm that the minor variances requested for MV 2022-19 did get approved for the following variances, as mentioned by Adam.
Okay. And that was for what civic address was it again?
Through you, Mr. Chair, this was for 3 Hawthorne Lane.
3 Hawthorne, thank you. Thank you very much for doing that. I appreciate that. I'm just pulling it up now to have a quick look at it, if you'll bear with me. Did anyone else have their hand up? Linda, please go ahead.
Thank you, through the chair. Yeah, while you look that up, I was just going to say this house next door on the west side, your neighbor on the west side has recently, I think that house was recently sold as well. So, going with what's happening on that street, I wouldn't be surprised if that one was taken down. Another one was put up, and then you're back to the same situation once again that we were talking about, the side yard setback. It's probably going to happen again. And you've got the 1.37 on the other side, and now you're doing your 1.67. It's going to cause that problem, and it's going to go completely against the bylaw altogether. Not saying that that's going to happen, but there's a possibility right where your window is. So I'm sticking to what I said earlier. The other thing I was going to say was, when you had mentioned to Peter that you had worked it all out with staff, and that you've got the planning all in your favor and everything, and you've just you've worked it out, and they don't oppose you at all. But that's probably why the committee of adjustment sits here as it does, right? Because if they agreed at everything and they wouldn't need us at all to have the people's opinion because it fits within the plans and everything like that. I'm just saying that's what our job is here, to discuss it, to see what the people of Aurora, as we are, would think about these things, even though staff has said, yeah, we approve of this, we think it's minor in nature and everything, but there's another opinion they're asking for, and that is what ours is. So I appreciate the fact that the staff has said it's minor in nature, but this is what we're here for, to discuss it and to give the opinion of the people kind of thing. That's how I look at it anyway. And protect the trees, which we try to do a really good job of that as well. Anyway, I just want to make sure you understood that we take our role pretty seriously here. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Let me go to David first, and I spotted you there, Danielle. Come right back.
Yeah, through the chair, I just wanted to just emphasize specifically one point. And one point I want to emphasize, lucky enough, Adam and Peter just came up and he gave the example. I want to emphasize is with the zoning, zoning bylaw, if certain developments were approved on a certain zoning 5 years ago, 4 years ago, with the generous or very stringent setbacks or whatever, that's what it is. It applied during that time. If the zoning bylaw has changed now, it's applicable to what's being developed now. Whether the ones in the past were stringent, they had a very big setbacks. Now they are narrower. That's what it is. We deal with that. That's what it is. You cannot say because, oh, this one is very wide, far from property, it's very, very wide. Yes, it was done during that particular time with that particular zoning. Now, if it's stringent, it's or not stringent, that's what it is. That's what we deal with. We cannot compare, oh, this now is the ones neighbors that are very, very wide, far from the property. Oh, now it's very, very close to the property. You cannot. We have to meet the other ones. They are from different times, different bylaws. You could look at the subdivisions around. We live in Aurora. Okay, for me, I deal with development every day. All subdivision site plans, there are significant changes. Sometimes I say, oh, wow. My house, for example, is very, very close to my other house. If I look at all the subdivisions, they are very wide apart. Should I complain? No, that's what it is. It's applicable to what is going on now. So what I'm trying to say here, we have to be careful. When we are talking about comparisons of bylaws, something which was done 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and what is happening now, we have to be careful. And as one member said, we have to deal with the application as we have it now, based on the zoning bylaws we have now. And again, consistency of how we have done the similar situations where maybe we have accepted something is 2.0 or 1.5 or 2.5 or whatever. We have to be consistent. People are watching how we do it. People are watching how we're interpreting the zoning bylaws. We're mixing up what was done 5 years ago, 2 years ago, or 10 years ago, and we're seeing that it should be the same like now. We have to be consistent. That's what I'm trying to say here. We have to be consistent. Look at the bylaws the way it is now. Look at what is the applicable now. Like I think one member was talking about the issues about, oh, there's a big hole, or it took them 5 years, whatever, to build. That's not what we're looking at. We're looking at the setbacks. We're looking at front yard. That's what we're looking at here. We're looking at the application as it is now, and any impacts like trees and so on, and the viewing site and all those things. So I just wanted to mention that we need to look at this bylaw, the way it is, the zoning bylaw now, and this application the way it is now. If we refer to all the neighbor is so long, is far, yes, it's applicable to those zoning law bylaw on those particular years. So we have to be careful how we do this. That's what I want just to say, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, David. Yes, sorry, missing your first name. I apologize. The owner, please go right ahead.
Yeah, thank you. thank you, Mr. Chair, and David, I appreciate your comments. What I take from that is consistency is very, very important with respect to the committee's decisions. And precedent is parallel with consistency. And a lot of the inspiration with respect to our design came from recent developments on that street. For example, 12 Hawthorne Lane. That's why I asked Adam to dig up previous applications on the street, which was not more than a year ago. It was within the preceding 12 months that application for Committee of Adjustment was approved. And those side yard setbacks are even more aggressive than what we're requesting in this application. And then the house next to 12 Hawthorne Lane, I believe it's number 14 Hawthorne Lane. Sorry, not 14, it would be number 10 Hawthorne Lane. Those side yard setbacks were approved even more aggressive than what we're seeking here. And we're, actually, as a family trying to move into this house on the street. Number 12 Hawthorne Lane was approved, and it was a spec build. Builders trying to flip the property. It's a vacant lot. Like we're trying to move into this house so our family can grow and we can be members of the community. And I get it, maybe a bow window might be encroaching a little bit, but we took out other elements of the home. We took out the loft. It was about 600 square feet that we took out of the loft, and we put into the remainder of the home, into the dining room. And for one thing, I just want to let the committee know, we would have proceeded with the application that was approved and the building permit. But at that time that the application was approved, unfortunately, I fell very ill. And I had medical conditions that prevented me from doing anything. And my recovery was slow. And now that I'm capable and able and have our finances in order to proceed, we would like nothing more than to build this house and to move into it. So the concerns of the neighbors with respect to a vacant lot can be alleviated immediately, and being consistent with the other properties that have been recently developed on the street. This is not an application we're trying to get approved so we can build a home and sell it. We're trying to get an approval so we can live in the home and raise our family there. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
No, I appreciate it. And you just answered two questions that I was going to bring up. Number one, why you didn't proceed. That's none of our business, but out of curiosity, it's been a comment that we've been dealing with from members of the public. It's been in the emails that you've already seen. I probably myself, and maybe even David, stretch our imagination or our memory a little bit. And when I look at you and your wife, I remember your faces. And I remember that you were both at that meeting. And it should have twigged that I was around when we dealt with it. It didn't, but now it has. And the other thing is that you've answered, we're not really anticipating that we're going to be looking at a vacant property for the next 5 years, as some of the comments that we've received in emails have indicated their concern over. So I appreciate that, and I wish you a great health. And nice to hear that you're on the mend or have completely recovered. I hope that you have. Was there another hand that came up? Daniel, did you have anything that you were going to add? Just want to make sure I've got it covered.
Through you, Mr. Chair, and apologies for turning off my camera. But if I don't see any faces. I need to spare my bandwidth. There's no need for me to go too much into detail. David brought up in a different way what I was going to talk about. I was just going to mention about how when I go through my notes of the 3 Hawthorne, it's a very different situation where their homes aren't even abutting one to the other. It was an end unit. So to deal with or to think about how if we did it once, we have to do it everywhere. It's not that simple. We look at everything individually. There's a reason why we do this. We all bring our specialties. You have planners, you have urban planners, you have developers, you have head of industries in this panel. There's a reason why we do what we do. And we bring that professionalism to our job. And we look at each one of these individually. So I don't think it's fair to emphasize or to push that somebody else did something. We look at everything individually. And I was going to articulate a little bit more on number 3, but David did a good job of talking about how we look at things as they come to us individually. So that was the only comment. Thank you.
I'll go to the agent and the owners. Is there, and by the way, Peter, I did look up number 3 and that had your name all over it. And I do remember that one at number 3 as well. That is the corner lot. And I had a quick look at it while my colleagues were bringing their comments forward. But let me go to you and to the owners, if there are any other comments that you wish to make based on what you've heard.
Through you, Mr. Chair, if I could speak first. Yeah, I guess, you know, I represent a lot of projects at the Committee of Adjustments, and I stand in front of a number of committees and all over the municipalities. I know everything is taken on the merit of each application. I guess, you know, I look back in terms of how things develop when they get to this stage. And if we simply applied, like we're as of right, we could be as of right all over the place. We could make the building different shape, and we could be as of right and not require the Committee of Adjustments at all. And I understand that, you know, we're here requesting a minor variance. I understand you need to give consideration to a variance, but you know, I've always looked at it that there is a little give and take, and yeah, the neighbor on the other side, you know, he's only allowed to build at 3 meters. It wouldn't surprise me if he comes back at 2.5, and then you have to take everything into consideration on its own. I guess I would just look at it and say, really, I've always explained that the role of the Committee of Adjustments is to look at variances and if they appear to be minor in nature, and it's up to you to determine what is minor, then that's the method by which the ability to fit what we're trying to do here, and that's get a little bit more space from the 3rd floor loft down into the lower level, that would be consideration that's given. If we take off that bow window, we're as of right on that side as well. You know, we effectively, if we were to adjust it on both sides, we could build this as of right entirely. We wouldn't even be here today. To me, it kind of makes a mockery of the process, only because, you know, with slight modifications, we don't even have to be here today. I leave it up to you to decide exactly how to determine that. That's basically my opinion.
Sure. Thank you, Peter. I'll give the opportunity as well to the owners if they wish to add anything to the discussion before we look for a motion.
Yeah, we've been at this thing here for over an hour and a bit. I'm wondering if we could take a quick break so we can speak to Peter privately before we make any closing submissions.
You can. We can arrange, Peter, if you want the committee actually, we shouldn't. If you can set up a breakout room for Peter and the owners, I don't have any problem giving them a few minutes. And if you do, what we will do as a committee is we won't talk. We'll just wait for you to come back.
Through you, Mr. Chair, that I can do.
Thank you. So for members of the public who may be watching this on the YouTube channel, the applicant and the agent want to be able to have a moment or two before coming back to the committee for any comment, any remaining comment that they wish to make. And in fairness, what we would normally do is we would normally not discuss it in their absence. So that is what we will do, is not discuss it in their absence.
Through you, Mr. Chair, if you don't mind, when it comes to voting, I'll try to video if I can't. If I do a yea or a nay, would that be appropriate?
Yes, that's fine, Daniel.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for doing your best there to stay connected. I understand your situation. I've been there myself.
So where are you, Daniel?
I'm in but I'm guessing the issue is more and more people are getting to their rooms and using internet to stream movies or something, because the
Mhm.
internet is just getting worse and worse. So I'm guessing, yeah, I just got another your internet is unstable notice, so I'll stop talking.
To answer your question, David, he's in a much warmer climate than we are.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for that indulgence. Just wanted to clarify a few points. And the way we're doing things now on online and virtual makes it difficult for us to have a little chat with our representative without having to request something unique like what we just did now. So.
No, and that's not a problem. I mean, we want to make sure that that we give you the opportunity to respond to what we're saying, and I can tell you that because we're in a virtual world now, it's not like we're all sitting in one room and you're next to your agent and you can have little sidebar chats. That makes this makes it very difficult to do that. So appreciate that, and no problem at all. Was there anything that you wanted to provide in the way of final comment before we look at this in detail?
I know. We thank you for your time. We thank you for reviewing this application with us, and we appreciate all the assistance you can provide so we can finally move on with this project.
Appreciate that. All right. So a couple of things. I think the general consensus at this point is that we will look to going through each request separately with the understanding that at the end of it, voting on them individually, at the end of it, if any part of this gets approved, there will be probably, and I'll leave it to the members of the committee, an addition or a word substitution in the appendix on the requirement for an arborist, where the reference is to may require. I think one of the members of the committee suggested that it should be changed to shall. So On that basis, and let's do them individually. I'll look to the members of the committee then for motion on each of the four requests for variance on this application. Does someone want to take a stab at it? I see Daniel, your hand has gone up. Let's hope that your internet stays healthy while you do this. Go ahead.
I'll talk quickly. Through the chair, I move that minor variance MV-2023-1 item A, which is requires a minimum front yard setback of 9 meters, be approved with the conditions as outlined, with the one change as you outlined, where item through the chair, can you remind me? I'm having problems scrolling. Which item is it that we wanted to change to will? Number 5.
Condition number two.
Number 2.
Number 2?
Yep.
Oh,
Condition
apologies. Yes, number 2. That one should read will instead of shall. Thank you.
So
No, it's not will or shall. Shall read the owner shall require instead of
Yeah.
may require.
yeah, it shall require
Shall.
instead of,
May.
yeah, we've got that one. Okay.
We got that one.
So is there a seconder on item A? Steve seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Nobody? Obviously,
hear you.
well, no, Daniel is frozen there, so he made the motion, so I'm assuming he would have voted for that. All right, let's go on to B. I guess we can do this with separate, yeah, go ahead, David. Yeah,
Through the chair, I move that minor variance MV-2023-01 Part B be approved, subject to the conditions in the staff's report, and with the condition number 2 being changed to the owner shall require.
perfect. Seconder on that?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we lost Daniel for the motion, I believe. If we could perhaps have the member repeat the motion so that he's aware of what's being asked, or
First, let's just make sure Daniel is back on, at least on the audible side. Daniel, are you there?
I am back, yes.
Okay, you can leave your screen off. I'd rather hear you, and when we call the question, just say yes or no. So we're just repeat the motion, David.
So I said, I move that minor variance MV-2022-01 Part B, which is about the west interior side yard setback, moving that it should be approved, subject to conditions in the staff's report, and with the condition number 2 be changed to the owner shall be required and blah, blah, blah.
Okay. Seconder on that. So there is no
Nay.
seconder. So there isn't, oh, Daniel, did you second that or no?
Oh, nay, no.
Hey, okay. So that motion fails. Is there another motion on item B? Steve, go right ahead.
thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, with respect to minor variance application 2023-01, with respect to item B, which is the applicant is requesting an interior side yard setback of 2.3 meters on the west side. I move that that item be denied.
Is there a seconder on that motion? Linda, that's seconded. All in favor of the motion as presented?
Yay.
Abstentions? Let the record note that David abstained, or David, did you vote against? I'm sorry, I should.
Yes, for me, my position is I have no problem with that minor variance.
Okay, so
So,
you're voting against the motion.
I'm voting against the motion that is
Right.
denied.
All right, so item B is denied. Item C, is there a motion for item C? Steve, yes.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, once again, with respect to motion or to minor variance application 2023-01, item C, which is the minimum interior yard setback where the applicant is on the east side, where the applicant is requesting an interior side yard setback of 2.2 meters. I submit the motion that this item be denied.
Seconded by, I see Linda's hand up. That's seconded by Linda. Calling the question, all in favor of the motion?
Yay.
All right, and David,
I don't support the motion.
okay,
I'm against
so
the
you're
motion.
you're voting against.
Yes.
Thank
yes.
you. Item D. Linda,
Oh, I'm not muted. Holy cow. Sorry. I move that application MV 2023-0117 Hawthorne Lane be approved for D, section 516 of the zoning bylaw that allows a maximum driveway width of 10 meters if the lot frontage is 18 meters, to be approved subject to Appendix A recommended conditions of approval, with item 2 being changed from may to shall.
thank you very much. Is there a seconder on that motion? See Steve's hand up. Calling the question, all of those in favor of the motion as amended?
Yay.
Thank you, Daniel. All right, so that carries. So yes, we spent a fair amount of time on this request and this application. Appreciate Peter and the owners for being here. So you understand the way we separated them out. We're approving the reduction of the front setback and the driveway width, the two interior side yard setbacks. The committee has felt that there should be ways in which you can conform to those side yard setbacks. So thank you very much for being here. Thank you for your patience, and we wish you a very pleasant evening.
Thank you. Same to the committee.
Thank you.
Take care. And good night.
All right. So moving on to item 7 on the agenda, is there any new business arising from either staff or members of the committee?
No.
No. That little
anything-
voice down there.
Yeah. It's okay, the temperature's probably dropped another 2 degrees. Anything from Adam or Peter?
Nothing from me, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Nothing from me either, Mr. Chair.
All right, just from my seat as the chair, Peter, Adam, thank you so much for your assistance, not only tonight, but throughout our term on the Committee of Adjustment, in my case, 8 years. It has been an absolute honor and a pleasure to be involved in the town of Aurora at this table, and it's been a real pleasure. I won't be back, obviously, or maybe not obviously, but from my perspective, I can tell you I won't be back, certainly on the Committee of Adjustment. I hope that you gentlemen will pass on to the rest of staff that it has been an incredible pleasure working with all of them. I've seen a fair number of people come and go over the 8 years. Adam, welcome to welcome to the town of Aurora. I'm sure you're enjoying it here, and I'm sure that and Peter as well. You haven't been here all that long either, but you know that it's a wonderful town to be part of and to work in. It's a great team of people at the town, and to the members of the committee, you know, thank you everybody for all of your hard work and your commitment to the town and to this committee. It has been again an honor and a pleasure. So that's sort of from this seat. I hope that you submit your interest in continuing your work. David, I know you won't be back. I hope you enjoy your retirement. And again, it's been a whole lot of fun. So with that, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Oh, let David, you do it. Go ahead, David.
Actually, before I make the motion to adjourn, I was wondering maybe this is the time for people who are, I don't know, who know though, not going to apply to also say goodbye and say thank you for everybody, the whole committee and the town staff. Certainly for me, I'm not going to make an application. I'm not coming back. So, but I thank everybody, the committee members and, you know, the town staff. So thank you. And if you want to do adjournment, I can do, but maybe somebody else may be wishing to say, so I'll leave it like that.
Go ahead, Linda.
Well, just before we adjourn, I just wanted to say, I wrote my little thing out here, so I'm all ready to go. I want to convey my sincere thanks to Tom as our chair, and David for their dedication, professionalism, understanding as members of the Committee of Adjustment, Standards Committee, and the Appeals Committee as well. In my time on the committee, they've always shown respect towards the town staff as well as the applicants, no matter what the circumstances. Thank you for showing me the way with your patience and understanding. Very much appreciated. I'm sure I'm sure the town and we will all miss you, but thank you very much.
Thank you,
Someone else
Linda.
can adjourn. Yeah.
Thank you very much. That's very nice.
Hang loose right now.
I think Daniel said something.
Yeah.
Man, a few words.
Oh, those children running down the hallway.
Oh dear.
So I will say thank you as well. I don't know if you guys can hear this, but thank you to everybody. Thank you to Tom. Thank you for David. Thank you to the town. Yes, I'll leave the comedy to after the recording is over.
Okay. That's great.
Yeah. Through you, Mr. Chair, if I may, I once again thank all of you. I mean, boy, it doesn't seem like 4 years. It's hard to follow Linda's comments. Very well said. As somebody that doesn't have a planning background, I really want to, thank Tom and David more recently for their experience, and also the staff for bringing us along. I think, Linda, you said it perfectly. This committee is very passionate. The town staff are very passionate and committed, and it's been an absolute privilege here being part of this. So thank you all. We'll definitely have to get together for a beer.
Absolutely. You may adjourn it, Steve.
No, it's David. David, go for it.
David, we'll look at David
Okay,
there.
adjournment.
All in favor?
Yeah, all in favor, and we are adjourned. Thank you all.